Much of how life is experienced begins with separation. What is wanted and what is resisted. What feels meaningful and what feels unnecessary. What should exist and what should not. Through this lens, life can appear fragmented, divided into parts that are accepted and parts that are rejected. But the Sea of Souls philosophy introduces a different perspective, one that does not begin with division. Divinity in the Sea of Souls philosophy is not defined by perfection. It is not limited to what is considered good or desirable. It is the whole. Everything that arises exists within it. Every experience, every emotion, every moment of clarity, and every moment of confusion. Nothing stands outside of this totality. When life is viewed through division, certain experiences are welcome, others are resisted. Difficulty is often seen as interruption, as something that should not be happening. But when life is viewed as a whole, that perspective begins to shift. Experience is no longer divided in the same way. What was resisted becomes part of the movement rather than separate from it. This does not remove discomfort. It does not deny difficulty, but it introduces a wider frame, a way of holding experience without allowing any single moment to define the entirety of your life. Within that wider awareness, something begins to stabilize, not because life becomes predictable, but because it becomes less fragmented. Everything within life moves. States arise and pass. Emotions shift. Circumstances change. What feels permanent often reveals itself to be temporary. Within this constant movement, there is something more stable, a deeper presence that remains even as everything else changes. When nothing is excluded from the whole, life begins to feel less divided, less defined by preference, less shaped by resistance. Light and shadow both belong. Ease and difficulty both belong. Not as opposites, but as expressions within the same field of experience. When identity is shaped within division, experience becomes personal, fragmented, defined by individual moments. But when awareness begins to align with the whole, identity expands, not limited to what is happening, but connected to the wider movement in which it unfolds. Spiritual Truth 6 does not suggest that life becomes easier. It offers something different. The possibility of recognizing that nothing you experience exists outside the whole. And within that recognition, life may begin to feel less divided, less fragmented, and perhaps more deeply understood.